right here in the UK, in my shop.
Welcome to NAWFABZ. Right boys, good morning and welcome to my nightmare today. So this Caddy van behind me has come in today with some faults. Now a little bit of a different video. As you know, if you're a regular follower, we usually sort of post in the fabrication content what we do, but from time to time, well, we do quite a lot of repairs. I did a GTI video and you all seem to enjoy that one. So welcome to this nightmare today. Let me give you a backstory. So the van has been converted, engine converted. It's not got the original engine in it. This is quite a common modification. Let me just turn it off so it's not really loud in audio. There we go. So let me spin you guys around and give you a little bit of a backstory. This is a Volkswagen Caddy van, obviously. Would have originally been a 1.9 TDI, 105 brake horsepower, BLS engine code, something along them lines. Or it could have even been a
SDI.
It could have even been an SDI, yeah, so non-turbo engine. They do a lot of them here in the UK. This is a 2-litre TDI engine from a Mark V Golf or a Seat Leon or that type of thing. This is quite a common modification to put these in these vans. Now, I've done many of these myself. It's quite a simple conversion as long as you get the wiring correct. Well, as you can probably guess, this one's not here because it's running good. It's here because it's got a problem. So it's been brought in by the customer. We're going to get him on the phone a bit later on in the video. We're going to go out and drive it in a second, and then we can feel the problem for ourselves. So at the moment, it's got a fault code, the customer says, for a turbo boost control solenoid. He has replaced it. That fault code still persists. So we're going to get the scanner hooked up in a second. We're going to see that for ourselves, see exactly what the issue is. My guess, it's not wired correctly. The way to do these is we use the BKD ECU, and then you put the live to the boost control solenoid, and it operates via a switched earth on the ECU. So it's very simple. It's one wire from the ECU to the boost control solenoid. But if they've got it on the wrong pin, it's not going to work correctly. That's what I'm expecting. Customer says it drives all right if you thrash it, but if you're just cruising along, it goes in limp mode. I don't know. We'll see. Dig into this and let's see what we can find. Initially, I'm seeing a lot of wires just dangling all over the place. Never a good sign. Whenever I've done these before, it looks like factory. This one doesn't. Now, he hasn't done it himself. He has bought this van, so yeah, it's not his fault. So first, let's get ignition on. And so here we've got VCDS hooked up. Let's have a look. Let's see what we've got. So we're going to click on the engine control module. I'm going to go to fault codes. Right, we've got one fault code, which is a solenoid valve for boost pressure control malfunction. This is also a permanent fault, so no matter how many times we clear it, this will come straight back instantly. Let's just try that to be sure. So we're going to clear it. P0243, we're going to clear that. See, it says it's been cleared, but as soon as I go back in, I'm expecting it to be straight back. Nope, it hasn't. Right, well, let's try starting it, shall we? And it's not come back. Right. Well, initially, fault code hadn't come back. So let's see if we've got actual vacuum at the solenoid. Hold that camera a sec. Right, we've got good vacuum from the vacuum pump to the solenoid, and it's on the correct one. This one here is the release. That's in the correct position. Pull it down, pull it down. And we've actually got vacuum coming out of the solenoid now. Right, so that's strange. I guess let's try a turbo cycle. So what a turbo cycle is where we go on VCDS, we'll request the ECU to cycle the turbo open closed, and let's see if it does that. Right, coming closer, look at this. Look, so we've got a little test rig set up. So this N75 solenoid here is a very simple device. Simply, you've got one line that feeds it vacuum, you've got one line that goes to the turbo, so the This can control the turbo via a vacuum line, so it can open and close the vanes in the turbo via a vacuum source. This one is just simply a release. If you block that off, it would never be able to release the pressure. You'll have full boost forever. So that's just a release line, just on a filter. When we start this van now, if that is working correctly, we should see this gauge go whoop, it should pull a vacuum. So that would basically simulate it pulling the vanes closed in the turbo. So when the van's at idle, the vanes should always be closed. So when we start that, that's what we're expecting to see. We're expecting that needle to go up to maximum vacuum. When we go into basic settings on our scan device, we're expecting to, when we cycle it, we're hoping to see that this will go max, drop, max, drop. All that's doing is just simulating that we have full control of the turbo. Now if we don't, well then we've got an issue with the wiring, or we've got an issue with the actual solenoid itself. So let's see, shall we? Let me start it. Let's see what happens. That should go up when I start it.
No.
Well, that's never a good start, is it?
Oh no, it starts on 5, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it should be. It should go all the way around. So that's never a good sign, is it? That's never a good sign. So that's telling us that the turbo is getting no vacuum. So let's see if that fault code's come back. I think that fault code's going to come back now. There it is. So the fault code is straight back, which is the reason why we've got no vacuum. The ECU's seen a fault with the control mod, with the valve control, and it's just pulling all vacuum to it as a safety feature. So when the vacuum is cut, the vanes are open, it's safe. The van cannot physically overboost. It's a safety feature. It's designed to work like that. So I guess, well, we know there's a problem. We know there's a problem. I'm betting it's with the wiring. We're probably gonna have to check that out. The customer said it drives all right though, so what do you reckon, Connor? Should we go for a drive for the lap to see what it actually
100%.
drives like? Because I know what it's going to drive like. It's going to drive like an SDI flat. Completely flat. There'll be no turbo whatsoever. Let's go and drive it just for the giggles of the video. So this is just purely for giggles. Because I know it's not going to drive right. I think I wasn't here yesterday when the customer dropped it off. But apparently, what did he say? He said it drives all right as long as it thrashes it, etc, etc.
As long as it kicks its head in, it drives fine.
Don't go in limp mode. But his version of drive fine and my drive fine might be two different things. Because looking at the data, what I've got in front of me, this van should have absolutely zero boost. Right, we'll know before I even get out yard. Yep, it's flat. Completely flat, there's no boost at all. Well, there is boost, but like not low down, like that's flat to floor. It drives like an SDI. So he's gonna, if he thinks this drives fine, he's gonna get a big shock when it actually does drive fine if we fix it. That's flat to floor, second gear. Wow, absolutely.
It's got summit though, isn't it? It's not completely dead then.
It's dead. That should not drive like that. 2 litre TDI, flat to floor. Look at that, it's like an SDI. Right, we don't really need to go any further. We're gonna go to this roundabout, we're gonna go back round, and we're gonna give him a call and see what he wants to do. First things first, we need to fix that electrical issue. I'm expecting other issues along the way with this van. So I didn't show you on camera then, but I had a look at the programming history. Now, I'm just looking at the state of the wiring. It's been programmed 13 times. That's a lot to put into perspective. I'm expecting somebody's going to have been pulling loads of fault codes out because I can hear fans are blaring, all sorts happening. I think somebody will have deleted loads of fault codes. What I'm going to advise to this customer in a second, as you're going to hear, I'm going to advise we put it back on a standard file. So I'm going to check an ECU read. I'll save what's on there at the moment. We will get a standard file, write the standard file to it, and then we can see exactly what fault codes have been removed. Because just remember, this is unknown to me, this van. I've never ever seen it before, and I don't believe that the owner's had it long. I think he's bought it like this. So we need to see exactly what's been done. We need to start afresh, back to basics. That's flat at floor. Completely flat. Right, let's get back to base. Let's give him a call. The way you're explaining, yeah, the way you're explaining that is what it will do. So a variable vane turbo, it closes, gives you low boost at RPM, then the vanes open, gives you boost at high RPM. So if you do manage to get it to high RPM, yes, you will get some boost, but it doesn't drive correctly as it is. You should be able to pull out of a junction, that turbo should be there at a snap of your fingers, and at a minute it drives like an SDI down low.
Yeah, it does, exactly what it does.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, there's what I propose happens. I propose we put a stock file on it, we see what faults come back. Then we need to sort that wiring out. I need to pull a wiring diagram up. We need to make sure that that's wired to right ECU pin.
Yeah. So, if you put that stock file in that on, what's the damage is that going to be?
So for me, sourcing a stock file and putting it on, we're going to be 60 quid plus VAT, 72 quid. Then for me to start tracing wiring, I'd just be charging you by hour again. I'm expecting to be able to find issue with that fairly quickly. It's just, the worry is that if they've wired it to an ECU pin and it's not the right one, I'm wondering what have they wired it to and what have they done with the right one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because when I took that scuttle panel off to see where, have you seen under where that N75 goes through the scuttle panel? I've
not took anything to bits at the moment. I've had a quick look under there. I've had a look at vacuum line and that's it. So we've got vacuum to the N75, so the back pump's good. But obviously the vacuum pump is not, the N75 is not releasing any vacuum to turbo because it knows there's a problem.
Yeah. Well, do that then. Obviously, put that stock file on. And we'll see where we go from there. Obviously, look at that wire.
Stock file's not going to fix the turbo issue. I know you've got a wiring problem there, so I'm still going to have to fix that. I'd say let's get a stock file on it. Let me fix the wiring issue. Let me at least get it so I know it can work correctly.
Yeah, do that then.
So apologies for that, boys. I didn't actually realise until we'd finished that I'd actually had an issue with the camera. It had stopped recording for some reason, something to do with SD card. But a little brief overview is what he wants us to do. He wants us to return a stock file onto there because it has been programmed 13 times. So I'm almost expecting many fault codes to have been deleted. So we're going to put a stock file on there. We're going to see exactly what's been deleted. I'm going to bring you guys along for this so you can see it yourself. And then we're going to get a wiring diagram and we're going to trace that N75 wiring it and we're going to see if it's correct. This should be interesting. Right, just come closer. So here's a little brief overview of what we're doing at the moment. We're using MPPS and we're just reading the actual ECU file off of the van now. You'll see here we've got the number, look, the VW software number. So what we need to do is, once we've read the file, we need to find a matching file 03G90601KC, and then that's the software number 9971. And we'll see if we've got a stock file what matches those numbers, or it can be older or it can be newer. We are going to save the original one so we can always put it back. That's where we're at. Let's once this is read, we'll bring you back once I've found a file and once we've wrote it, and we'll see exactly what fault codes we've got afterwards, because I'm expecting a lot more than the one we've got at the moment. So I've actually got another ECU, a spare ECU. I've just removed the immobiliser off it just for testing purposes. So at the moment the VIN number is greyed out, but I'm going to go in a minute. You and Connor are going to go and have a look and see if this number matches. So you've seen that the number what we read off of the ECU, so the VW software number, what is on that ECU, does not match the sticker what's on it. So somebody's written a different file to that ECU which does not correspond to that ECU. You two go under the bonnet and I'm going to read you this number and I want to see if it matches on that ECU what I've got. Is it? Zero 3G 906 016G. Right, there we go then. That answers a lot of questions straight away, straight off the bat, doesn't it? This is a spare ECU what I've got. I had just on office roof. I think we're going to use this ECU in all honesty. I think we're going to sack that one off and we're going to use this ECU. I don't know what's happened to that ECU. Somebody's written the wrong file to it and I've got a feeling that's causing all these issues. So I have had a quick look here. The wiring is hell rough. I'll tell you now, it's hell rough. But even though it's rough, the wiring for the actual N75 controller is on the correct ECU pin. I've just checked that on the wiring diagram and it is on the correct ECU pin. So technically that should work. The plug has a 12-volt feed and it works via a switched earth on that. And it is all wired correctly. So there's no other explanation as to why it don't work unless the ECU program was wrong. So I guess now let's go and have a look. Now we've got that ECU on. It will run. It will run on this ECU. I'll prove that to you in a second. This is a completely different one. It's a slightly older generation ECU. Won't matter. It won't matter at all. But now we'll get a true picture of what faults are truly on this van. Come on, let's go and have a look. So we'll close MPPS down. It should run because there's no immobiliser on it, so it should run. There we go. Runs a dream. Right, let's get VCDS plug back in. Now we'll get a true picture of what faults we've got. Alright, engine control. Here we go, 5 faults. Motor for intake flap, we're not interested in that. That can be deleted. Switch over valve for EGR cooler. Again, we are not interested in that. That can be deleted. EGR valve, open circuit. We are not interested in that. That can be deleted. Powertrain data bus. We're missing a message from the AC controller. That's no problem. This van doesn't have AC. The original ECU, what that car used to be off, will have been an AC car. So we will get rid of that. No problem. And then check the DTC memory of instrument cluster. Now, instrument cluster, we're going to have faults for outside air temperature sensors, stuff like that. But, boys and girls, what is missing? The fault code for the N75 is no longer there. Now, this is where we need to get the Mittivac rig back up, don't we? We need to rig the Mittivac back up, and now we need to see if it actually cycles as it should do. So let's switch it off. Let's get that rig back up. Where's my Mittivac gone? Oh, but there it is. Well, let's try this again then. So when I start the van this time, that should go up. Let's try this again. Let's try this again.
Yeah, straight up.
Right. So, we now know that the ECU solenoid is seeing a vacuum. It's allowing that vacuum to go to the turbo. So this usually would be going to the turbo, but we've got it disconnected now. Right, now we're going to try the actual function of the turbo cycle where it will open and close the vanes. Now this should drop, go back, drop, go back. If it does, we've fixed the problem. Right, are we ready? So I've hit start. We should see that drop in a minute. Hey, back to 0. So that's turbo vanes open, and it should go back. Hey, sorted. So we now know the ECU was the problem, not the wiring. Let's just stop that. Stop that. So we now know that the ECU was the problem, not the wiring. All we need to do now really is, we've got 2 options. I can either let him have this ECU, which in all honesty I'm probably going to do. I'll see if I've got a stock file for the original number, what's on that ECU. If I've got a file that matches the original number that's on the ECU sticker, I could just program that back, and then I ain't got to code all this ECU in then. Little sit rep then, where we at? So I've got the ECU happy now, we've got rid of the EGR, we've got rid of all the stuff what's irrelevant. Some other fault codes did ping up off a camera, so glow plug. So at the moment, there's a plug down here, I'll show you in a second. There's a plug down there, completely unplugged. Turns out that's for the glow plug control module. So at this moment, this engine is running with no glow plugs at all. Not really an issue. PDs don't really care. Unless it's below 4 degrees, they don't really use glow plugs anyway, so it will not care. It will start, run, drive happily without them. So at the moment, I've just disabled those DTCs to get the light off the dashboard. So the only DTCs I've disabled are EGR, runner flap, glow plugs, glow plug control module. Just disabled all the stuff that's not really relevant to this and to it driving. Now, as we've confirmed now, the boost control is now working. It's happy with that. So you're probably thinking, Nathan, so what was the actual issue? I'm a little bit confused. So let me tell you what the actual issue is, or was. The actual issue, turns out it was the ECU itself. Now, you can see on there, look, it says BKD, IMO off, Caddy, EGR on, EGR, what's that say? EGR cooler delete. Now, that's all well and good. So that ECU probably was fine at one point in its life, but that is the EGR. That is the ECU software number 03G906016FM, Foxtrot mic. So that's the key part. The Foxtrot mic is very different. Those 2 letters determine differences between different ECUs on different cars. So one from an Audi For instance, a BKD engine from an Audi might have AC on the end of it. So the issue was that this ECU has had an ECU file flashed to it what was not for this ECU. It's had 03G906016KC flashed to it. KC and FM are clearly not compatible with each other. So what's happened is I don't know anything about this van until today. What's more than likely happened is, some point in its life, this Caddy van used to belong to somebody else, and their mate had a Caddy van once where BKD swapped, and they went, "Here mate, I've got a right good ECU tune for that," and they've gone on eBay, they've got themselves a 15 quid clone MPPS cable, and they've just flashed that file onto this, thinking it was going to make this Caddy van 300 horsepower. Reality, it's not what happens. Now, I'm not an ECU expert, nor am I a remapping expert, but what I can tell you is cross-contaminating does not work, as we've just seen today. The only thing I've physically changed, I've checked the wiring, I've pulled it all back, I've checked it, the wiring is good. The only thing I've physically changed is I've just put another ECU on there, what I've got. The only reason I've put another ECU on there is because I do not have a file that matches that original ECU. Now, I could source one really easily, but the problem is I just can't be bothered. I don't know what else has been done to that ECU. I've got another one, it's easy just to start fresh. That ECU what I got, never been programmed, complete virgin, absolutely never been touched, so perfect. Anyway, that's all on there now. That's all well and good. All we're going to do now is we're going to tidy this wiring up because the wiring's atrocious. We've just got twist and tape and it's a mess. So I'm going to cut them out. I'm going to put some nice solder joints in there. I'm going to put that ECU all back underneath there. I'm going to build all the scuttle panel back up. That's going to be the wiring side of things sorted essentially. We know it works. We've checked it. It cycles. But we've got another problem underneath, and I'm going to show you that other problem now. Here's what we're dealing with on the ECU plug then. Look, we've got bare wires here, what have just got little bits of tape over them. This is the boost control wire. Just it's a mess, isn't it? We're gonna cut that out. We're gonna make a nicer job of that, and I'm gonna repair that wire there as well at the same time. Rest of it looks relatively untouched. Probably gonna tape it all back up nice and neatly and put it all back nicely. So all top bits all back together now. We're all happy with that. Wiring's neated up. All the scuttle panels all back on. Let me introduce you to the next problem. Now this is the final problem. We fixed this. The van drives great. Simple as that. Try and get up there, look, see if you can show them. This here is the turbo actuator. Now this vacuum line what I've just pulled off, that goes to the solenoid up top, what we were testing earlier. So we know that the solenoid's all good, we know that the ECU's got control of it. Now let me just pull it off, and I'm now going to pull this down with a mitty bag. I'm going to apply vacuum to this, and as I pump it, that should come down. Now it might move a bit, but I bet it don't move a lot. Let me see if I can get in a position where I can see as well.
You'll probably be able to see up there, camera coming.
Right, there we go. Are we ready, folks? As you can see, maximum vacuum actuator is not moving to the stop screw. Now it does move a little bit. Look, you can see, look. See the amount it's moving? Barely anything. It is tiny. You got good focus on that, fella. Right, so there's the third and final problem with this van. We need to sort that. What's the issue, you may ask? Well, to be honest with you, folks, I don't know myself. I'm guessing probably clogged up turbo vanes from the fact it's been driven like it was for a very long time. So now we've got two choices. Choice one is we're going to try and free it on the van. Do I think this is going to work? I'm going to say 75% no. There's a 25% chance we may be able to salvage this by just working it forward and back like that. Do I think it'll actually work? Probably not. Other option is we end up taking the turbo off the van, we strip it, and then we make sure all the vanes are not damaged and get some cleaner in there, do it that way. Now we do need to get authorization off the customer for that if we do end up going down that route. But to start with, I'm just going to try and give it a little bit of a work. So here you can see I've got a spanner, look. You come back up here, Connor, try and get back in focus again. Try and come round there, look where I am. Just, you're going to need to see me moving this spanner though. Come back. Use your zoom if you need to go in. Tell me when you're in good shot.
2x zoom. And focus.
Good? Yeah. Right, so I'm going to pull on the spanner, look, and you're going to see just how much pressure that's actually taking. You can hear it squeaking.
See, no, dust high at the top.
Yeah. Right, it should move a heck of a lot more than that. I mean, I'm only getting a little bit of movement before the spanner's hitting the housing. But yeah, this should be really smooth. I should be able to grab hold of that with my fingers like this, and I should be able to pull that down, and I physically cannot. So that's what we're gonna have to do. Next job, let's try and free this up. Fast forward 10 minutes, and quite simply, I can tell you, it ain't happening. Not happening. So I've just had another chat with customer on the phone. We've got the green light, we've got the go ahead. We're gonna whip this turbo off, and we're gonna strip the housing off, and we're gonna see if we can salvage it. It's basically said, if you can't salvage it, we'll cross that bridge once we know type thing. So let's get it off. Luckily for us, BKD turbos are pretty easy to get off, so let's get it off. Fast forward another 10 minutes then, and literally 10 minutes. These are really easy to get off, especially when you've got no EGR cooler on there already, and all these other pipes all stay on the car. Straight off, no problems. Right, here's the problem then. Now I can give you a better look with it not in there. This actuator rod should be really, really free. That, I should be able to move that really, really easily with my fingertips. And as you can see, no matter how hard I push, I cannot move that. So let's have a look. We're going to strip the housing off, and we're going to see what's what. We're going to see if it's damaged internally. I'm going to undo these 10 millis. We're going to have a look. I just want paint pen as well, Connor, just to mark where it is on housing. So when we take this off, we'll get a really good look at the VNT mechanism. Yep. Put a mark just so we get it back in the right spot. Don't think you can get it wrong, but it's been a while since I've had one of these apart. So why is it red, in case you're wondering? Well, it's an eBay special turbo, that's why. They paint them red, because red's faster.
It's probably hybrid, but there'd be no way to tell with it.
Not without looking at it and taking measurements now. Am I bothered? Not really. I just want to sort this problem and get it out of my way. So as I said previously, I almost guarantee what's happened with this is it probably had a decent tune on it at one bit, and then somebody else went, oh, my mate had it tuned at such and such, and I've got your rate good file, put that on, they blasted that on, and then all of a sudden all these problems have started, and yet they've not clocked it. That's the only possible way that could have happened, where the ECU has been cross-contaminated with different file types.
And then they couldn't find it, so they sold it.
Yeah. So inside there's like, I'm not even joking, you're inside the centre console. There has got to be at least 3 or 4 N75 valves where they've been trying loads of different ones, whereas not wrong with N75 valve, that would tell the truth. I'm expecting this to be really difficult to separate from housing because it's really rusty. Right, there's all the bolts out. Let's see if we can get it to separate. Oh, that's out, that's out, that's out. There we go. So there is your hot side compressor wheel. The exhaust gas spins this, which in turn then spins the compressor side. That then compresses the air, feeds it down the boost pipe, supplies it to the engine under high pressure. In case you're ever wondering how a turbo works, that's how. Recycles the old exhaust gas to compress air on the cold side. But that's not the part we're interested in. The part we're interested in is in here. Now these are your variable vanes. These are the parts what are not moving. You can see that now. Let me just show you that actually. So there, look, before we couldn't move this. Well, now look, now we can move that really free, really easily. So we know that the problem is here. The problem is internal on these vanes, what are all carboned up. And I tell you what, at first glance,
Look damaged.
no, not really. They don't look damaged at all. Now there's a lot of little pieces here, so we're going to need to gather all these little pieces. They're supposed to be in there. They've obviously just come off when I've whacked it off. They've all come off. But you can see, look, these should be able to. You should be able to spin these really easily, and I can barely spin any of them. They're all really seized. So we're going to try and clean it and save it. Now we're going to have to take a lot of these little parts off. Little rollers. I need a screwdriver, Connor. I need to take all these little bits and bobs off and not lose any of them. So this don't go back together right, it'll never work right again. Even rollers are seized on. These all usually just pop off right easy. Right, there's one. There's one of the little guide rollers. We're going to put everything together. Keep them all nice and neat. God, they're on there good, these. These usually just fall off. There's another one. There's the ring, so there's the nozzle ring. We'll keep that to one side. We're going to clean all of these parts up. There's another roller. And the last one, there's the third one. Put that to one side. Now you can really see these little veins here now should move. Like, there you go, look. See that one? See how that one moves really easy. But the one next door, I cannot move that no matter how hard I try. That one, really free. One next door to that one, C solid. Solid, free, solid, free. So not all of them are in a state of seizure, but a lot of them are. So let's get some grips and let's try and see if we can work them loose before we give them a clean. God, they're tight. Now, we can try and undo these and take the nozzle ring out, but very risky because these have a tendency to break. And if they break, that's it, turbo housing scrap. Now, the tips of them do not look damaged in any way. God, that is so stiff though.
They don't have a tendency to snap and all that.
I've never had any of this seized before. Realistically, I don't think we're going to get them to move. I think we're going to have to try and undo these. This is a risk. This is a big risk. You what? Become free now.
Just that one. That one's nearly free.
Maybe if we give them all a tap.
That one just nearly. I just had that one moving in a second ago. Now it's going back up.
Let's get right size one of them. If we can get these out, we have a fighting chance of saving this turbo. But it's all riding on whether these come out. That one's gone. Oh, that one's gone. Come on.
No. Yep.
Unbelievably, I think all of them are going to come out. So we've now got a fighting chance of being able to save this.
Does that not have to go back on this?
It does, but I'm pretty sure it's got a locator. Right, also, we're going to be washing it anyway, like, but
yeah.
These little pins here. Alright, there's the nozzle ring.
Whoa.
Yep, don't lose them.
Oh, we got one.
There's a little one there, look. Another one there. Little spacers as well. What go underneath. There's a lot of little parts to this. The bolts themselves. 1, 2, 3. Right, don't wipe all that off because I'd like to show them. These now will probably all move freely. 1, 2, 3. Yep, you can see every one of them all moves really, really free. But you can see the carbon build-up where they've been locked in position. And that's also the same on this, where they've been locked in position because of the carbon build-up. All we've got to do now is clean all this up, get wire wheel in there, get that really nice and clean, simply rebuild it all back together. And I'm almost certain we're going to save this. Yeah, I've got a lot of confidence now that we're going to actually save this. Right, clean-up time for us. Everything's all clean then, best we can anyway. Get it a bit of petrol clean, everything's free as a bird. Guess now we'll just put it back together and see what happens, see if it's all free. Carefully remembering how it all went. Now I did put a little line on there with grinder which corresponds to that, or close to. These all got to be facing the right way. They all need to be out. There's my grinder mark. Yeah.
Gobsmack them bolts come out.
I couldn't believe they come out either. I could not believe it.
Battery's nearly dead on this.
Yeah.
Battery's not far away from being dead.
Right, come and have a look at this then. So this is all back together now, a little bit fiddly, which is why I've not showed you, but alt spacers, alt rollers. Before you saw how stiff it were, well, look at that. That's how free it should move, literally fingertip movement. You can see your veins right down here in the middle if you can just notice them. So at the moment, that's the closed position. In the middle there, look, you see all the veins open and closed again. That's how it should be. That should be the operation. That should move as free as a bird, just like that. Now, I'm not too sure if we're getting full movement. It does feel a little bit stiff at the very open position. But looking at these, it can't go much further anyway, so I think it's fine. Yes, we'll find out when we're going to put that back on there, and then, well, we saw how it were before. We're going to see if we've got full movement back, and we're going to see if we've got full movement at stop screw. This thing in here as well, which is going to be a future video. Keep an eye out for that one. That one's going to be a fun one, isn't it? We're doing some exhaust work on this, and I've got it for as long as I want it. He told me to keep it till summer. Well, we'll not be keeping it that long, but I'm going to have a good time in that. Don't worry about that. Anyway, the real question is, have we fixed the problem? Well, you saw it before, that actuator did not move no matter what. So go on, give it a pump call. Look at that. And release. Beautiful. Pump it up again, look, all the way back to the stop screw. And release. Happy days. Right, we think that's going to fix that. There's only one way to find out, and that we need to get it back on van. And then it'll be ready for some testing, won't it? See if ECU can actually control it, see if the turbo's any good. We'll find out in approximately 45 minutes. Well, that's all back together then. Last thing to do, I need to put this clip back on here, so I've just been messing around. I need to put this clip back on, that's missing there, so I'm going to put a Jubilee or something on there, or if I've got one of them, I'll fit it on there, but ignore that for a sec. Last thing to do then is we need to check to make sure it cycles, so we'll just double check fault codes. Right, coolant fan control is because we've got it unplugged at minutes, so we're doing my heading for running. The outside air temperature sensor is not plugged in, so that's what's making it do that, which is also what that fault is there. So ignore them, none of them are any good. Right, basic settings. Let's go to charge pressure control, and then we're going to click start. And you'll see here, this is cycling on and off, so in a minute that'll turn to off. There we go. Right, we need to go underneath and we need to make sure that is actually cycling those veins now. Right, join me underneath. POV, probably really loud. So as we can see there, turbo has got full control of that now. Sorry, the ECU has got full control of the turbo now. It's able to cycle those vanes up and down. That's now got control. Last thing to do is then, let's go and drive it and let's see what actually happens. We're going to put those clips back on. Let's go and drive it and let's see if it actually does control the boost. So we want to make sure we'll take a log, we'll come back, we'll graph it, we'll make sure we're not getting any overboost, any underboost, just generally see what it's doing, see what the turbo itself is doing, as it is not a stock turbo, could do anything, who knows. Let's go and find out. So Connor's never done this before, so we're going to give him a quick rundown on what to look for. So here, you've got boost sensor, you've got boost pressure specified, boost pressure actual. See how they closely resemble each other? Well, when we're driving, when I'm going to give it a bootful, so say we get it in third and I give it a bootful, if that one starts reading a heck of a lot more than that one, scream and tell me. So like, it's going to get to like, we're probably going to be seeing around 2,000 on both. But if that one starts saying 2,500 and that one's saying 2,000, let me know it ASAP like. Right, so click, add to log actually. Oh, is he still thinking that? Click log. Yeah.
Pull up the top of the ramp and make that outside temp sensor off fucking...
Off that panel.
Right, when I say click start.
Took off it.
Yeah, it probably has. Right, already it sounds like it's got a lot more poke. Just revving it, it sounds like it wants to go. Sounds like it's got more poke in it already. So before I tell you to click start, as we're driving up here, you should see that they both sort of start matching each other. Right, already we've got turbo.
Yeah, that was 2,000 and that one was still on 1,100.
Which one?
2,000, 1,900.
Sorry, it's the other way around. So specified, we're not interested in specified, it's actual, look. So as long as the actual one's not reading more than when we're specified, so like if I'm getting
as long as the actual's not reading more than the one
yeah,
it wants.
that's exactly, yeah. So as long as when I'm driving like them, when I put my foot down, obviously it's never going to build boost that fast, so specified will always be more. As long as actual's not more than specified, that's when we're worried. Right, so it drives like a turbo van now, which is a good start. Before it were naturally aspirated. Now it feels like we've actually got, let's see, we can pull away from a junction cleanly. And we've got turbo. And I can't see any smoke. It's got more rattles and bangs. Jesus. It's got some rattles and bangs, old gal.
It's got some great
Right, well initially I'll tell you it drives a dream, but that's not to say it's going to do when we get high RPM and whatever. So we've actually got a turbo van now. Might have fixed this. Right, so what's the actual saying now?
2,600.
And what other one saying?
2,600, but then it dropped down to 2.3.
So it's requesting 1.6 bar, which is stock. So 2,600 millibar equals 2.6 bar, but we've got 1 bar atmospheric pressure, so we're only getting 1.6 bar. I actually thought these were 1.3 bar stock, maybe I'm wrong.
1.6 seems quite a lot.
Go on, you tell me what it's reading now, so what's specified at now?
Specified at 2,400, we're at 2,600, we actually went higher.
So we're getting a little bit of overboost, which is not a good sign. It's not a good sign at all. Right, now click start on that log. So we're getting a little bit of overboost, not a good sign really. I mean, it weren't crazy. ECU will peg us in limp mode if it does notice a big overboost. We don't really want any overboost. But then again, it is a hybrid turbo.
Oh yeah, in fact. So.
Should still relatively match though, even though it's a hybrid turbo, we should never be getting more than what we're asking for. But the ECU may well struggle to control it. Well, it drives alright initially, doesn't it? Yeah. Better than this morning. Can pull away from a junction, you've got nice little bit of turbo. Yeah, it does, it sounds better. It does. You can hear it. Well, we're brave going straight out at bypass at 5 o'clock at night.
See, we're all right. We read the lowers over. We're always lower than that specified.
Which is good.
But it's just when you go
right, well get ready, because this is where I'm going to get a bootful. Now, I'm not bothered about 200 millibarish, but if it starts getting crazy, scream. So flat down in third at that.
more.
So we're getting a little bit of overboost, aren't we? Now 2601, pretty sure that's the maximum map sensor can read on this. So that is slightly worrying. We're getting more than we should be. So we do need to check that.
We're lower now, it's just when you absolutely get it.
Yeah, when we're high boost though, that's when it's at maximum. So we do need to be wary of that. We do need to check that out. I'm sure 2601 is the maximum a BKD can read unless you apply a little modification to ECU. I will need to speak to my friend about that. I am not a mapping specialist, but I do have a friend who is. Driving alright.
We're on good more when you...
We might be on overrun though. Well, it drives better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't go in limp mode. Drives good. So initially I'm considering it a fix, but we just need to look at that boost control. This is the only problem with hybrid turbos. We don't know where stop screws set her out. I mean, it does drive all right. Like the actuator rod length could be too short, then that gives you...
You don't even know it's an hybrid.
Well, it looks like an hybrid. It looks like it's got machine marks on it. But if the actuator rod is too short, the vanes can't open enough, which would give you an overboost problem. But obviously I don't really want to get involved with that. Right, so third gear now.
Yeah, so 2315 specified 2539.
2539's alright. So we're not getting that, we're up an hill, full load that way as well. I don't think that's too bad. Right, what about now?
2601, 2305. 2305 left, 2601 actual.
About now?
Same, 2346 specified, 2601 actual.
I'm worried about the 2601. I'm pretty sure I'm almost certain 2601 is maximum it can read. I need to consult my friend about that.
Bit of a weird number line and stuff.
What it'll need is some mapping changes to N75 duty cycle to try and bring that under control a bit better. Whether or not the customer's going to want to go that far with this, has just spent a pretty penny on it. I mean, but as far as fixing the fault, well, we have done that. We've fixed the fault. So click done and close on that now. Stop, yeah. We're going to go back, we'll graph it, we'll have a look. Click done, close. Done, close. Done, go back. Click fault codes. Nope. No fault codes have come back. Right, we're going to get back then. We're going to have a look at this graph. I'm going to consult my friend regarding the 2601 business. We'll have a chat with customer, see if he wants us to try and tidy that up a bit. It is on a standard tune at minute. Yeah. I don't know how much further he's going to want to go with it, but we've fixed his problem. Obviously the turbo is not from us. I don't know anything about it. I'm just worried that the 2601 actual boost, what we're getting, I don't think the map sensor can read any higher than that. But I may be wrong. I need to check. Let's get back to base. Let's have a look at this graph. So we've got back, look, and this is the boost graph, which is going to show us where the problem lies. So this blue line here, that's the engine RPM. So you can see that goes up there to a point. There's a gear change, or I let off the throttle or whatever. This one here, the orange one, green one, the green one is our actual boost. So you can see there, orange one is requested. That's what the ECU is asking for. It's basically saying, right, turbo, we want 1.3 bar of boost. Turbo's complying till it gets to about there, and then it's going a little bit over, but then we're hitting that 2601. So that's where it's worrying, because the map sensor can't read any higher than that. So we don't know how high that actually goes. We don't know truly what it's hitting. So I do need to speak with a friend, and a friend's going to let me know, because I'm sure you can do something, you can change something in ECU what lets the map sensor read more than that, because it is a 3-bar map sensor. I'm not sure if you have to change it to a 4-bar or what, I can't remember, but essentially the map sensor is a 3-bar map sensor, and I don't think it can read any more than 2601. I'm not sure, I need to check with him. Again, I don't really want to get too more in depth with this now. I've fixed his problem. This may well be done down to mapping, where you can change the N75 duty cycle, stuff like that, and might be able to get this under a bit better control, maybe get a touch of underboost rather than overboost. But we'll have a chat with the customer, I'll have a chat with my friend. Well, other than that, boys, I mean, I'll consider that fixed. We'll probably end this video there. Don't know what will happen with this now, whether we'll end up doing some mapping changes or what, I'm not sure, but hopefully you've enjoyed watching something a little bit different than the usual, a little bit of fault finding. Yeah, it's just hopefully you've enjoyed watching it. So we'll catch you in the next video, which will probably be an exhaust. See you there.